Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and today is Monday, July 15th, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, and it's time for another draft. Let's go. Holy shit. I don't know if you just saw that fly across the screen, but there's a fucking wasp that's just got in my room. It had been like trying to get in the last week or so, and it did make its way while the door was open. So I have that to deal with. I'm going to try to get it out of the way, but let's just get this thing started. In the meantime, we're going to hop into a fast puppy on Underdog, and then once that thing is rolling, shit, this is actually like really concerning. We will explain to you what's going on, but yeah, let's just do it. Let's get in. Oh boy. All right. I'm gonna try and get rid of this thing. Give me a sec. Shit. I'm sure this makes for like riveting content, but Jesus Christ. I had it in the cup and then it got out of the fucking cup. Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's out. It's out. We're good. We're good. All right. Ah, shit. No, it's not. Fuck. Holy shit. All right. We have pick 10. We have Puka. God damn it. Yeah, probably. Probably Jonathan. If I burst out into a rage at one point in pain, it's because this thing is still in the room and I've just gotten bit. But okay, we're just gonna move on. We're just gonna try to focus. I have got Puka. We're not getting any good values here. Let's gamble on Waddle. Let's go for Waddle. I don't have a ton of Waddle, but all the receivers here I have in basically the same tier. There is a scenario where Waddle does finish top 10, top 7, maybe even top 5 if Tyreek Hill were to get injured and miss a significant portion of the season. So that's who we have. And he may have a lower floor than guys like Olave, Adams, Nico Collins, Ayuk. But last season, he was top 20 on a per game basis when he was healthy. He dealt with injuries. He should have a better season this year. And obviously, he would be fantastic if Tyreek Hill went down. We can take a look at some stats for Waddle when that happened, just to prove my point. I was doing some stats on him earlier today. And let's just know for a fact, which games did Tyreek Hill miss? In round 2, I think you can justify like any receiver, honestly, whether it's just because you believe in them or just for the sake of like uniqueness. But okay, so Tyreek Hill went down in week 14 against the Titans. He played less than half the snaps in that loss. And if we look at Jalen Waddle in those 2 games, the Tennessee game, as well as the Jets game the week after when Tyreek Hill was completely off the field, we got some really, really good numbers from Waddle, especially in that Jets game. I mean, I guess I don't need to look at the per game numbers, but against the Jets, really good secondary, 8 catches on 9 targets, 142 yards and a touchdown. That's what we would be looking at if Tyreek Hill were to go down. So the contingent upside is our justification for this Jalen Waddle pick, and that's what we're hoping for. Just nothing but upside with him. I'm pretty sure I got rid of the Wasp, but like in the back of my mind, it's like still in here. I'm like not 100% comfortable. And my attention is definitely like divvied up between this and that. But okay, now we're back on the clock. Rough spot here. Don't really like anyone. So I'm just going to take best quarterback. Let's go with Josh Allen. We're never going to regret having Josh Allen. But all the receivers here, I think, are in the same tier. I think everyone from Michael Pittman through Amari Cooper are all equally as valuable. Not a massive gap in terms of value. And maybe for the sake of a unique approach, we go with a running back like Pacheco. Maybe, just maybe, that is the way to approach this. But perhaps I can also justify a Dalton Kincaid selection. But Pittman here at 39 has fallen 6 picks. Maybe I can go with Pittman. No, I'm going to get my stack. I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. Force it with Josh Allen. ADP rarely lines up where you have that combo. People who do have it that don't force it here at the turn, they have a really good value on Josh Allen. Like if Allen falls to like pick 44 and you get Kincaid at 53, then you definitely have a better setup than I do. But when you're at the back half, like you're kind of just hoping for the best. And I think there are some good receiver values that we can still get at the next turn that I don't think forced me to go in that position. It was between tight end and Pacheco there. I was going to pass on receiver. But, okay. Holy shit. My day's been weird. I don't know about you. I don't know how y'all are feeling. I feel like tired. And now I'm like anxiety ridden from this wasp. But it's okay. We'll get past it. There are bigger things to complain about. Not the biggest of problems for yours truly, who's live streaming on YouTube while betting on fantasy football. I'm definitely not going to complain. But okay, after our Kincaid pick, we see Michael Pittman go off the board, then Travis Kelce, Amari Cooper, Lamar Jackson. Isaiah Pacheco, Josh Jacobs. Team 3 with 4 receivers gets a good value on George Pickens. Jalen Hurts goes at 47. Jonathan is wired. He slammed 3 Red Bulls, and I've been playing NCAA 25 since 1 p.m. Pacific. But wow, you're coming up on almost 4 hours. Good for you, man. Sounds like a fun Monday. I don't really play video games that much anymore. I used to play them a lot growing up. I was definitely a PlayStation fiend. But now, occasionally when my best friend comes over, I'll pop in. It's not Madden. It's like Madden, but it's a different franchise. It's called NFL Game Day 2004. Maybe I can get the game and show you. This is the game I'm talking about. If you've ever played this game, you know that the quality of this PlayStation 2 football game is dope as fuck. It's got LaDainian Tomlinson on the cover, and they were trying to compete with Madden at the time. They didn't last too long. I think they only made a game for like 2-3 years. But NFL Game Day 2004 is fantastic. The graphics are dope, and the tackling is like visceral. Like there's a lot of like violent tackles, and your controller will vibrate like a motherfucker when that happens. But here we are. I'm gonna go with Chris Godwin. Very enticed with Godwin this season because he had almost an equal target share to Mike Evans. He actually caught 4 more receptions than Mike Evans, but he's going 3 rounds after Mike Evans. And while the touchdown production last year was a concern, if it were to even out, if Chris Godwin puts up the same amount of touchdowns as Mike Evans, they had 15 combined last season, 13 of them went to Evans. If Godwin scores 7 or 8 touchdowns this year, he will smash this round 5 ADP. You are drafting him at his floor at wide receiver 36. I think Godwin is a very, very safe late round 5 pick. So I will take him. And if Evans were to go down, we would have a top 20 receiver on our hands. But running back gets a little bit sniped. Rachaad White comes off the board. We could pair him up in Tampa Bay, but instead I'm going to be looking at, I think George Kittle. I think it's unlikely. Oh, shit. That was a bad decision. I didn't realize we had Kincaid. I'm still fucked up from the Wasp, man. Anyways, am I still on the PS2? I have a PlayStation 3, but that game is only available on PlayStation 2, and my PS2 still works. So I feel like it's more nostalgic to play that game. I love that game, and I will whip out the PS2 on occasion, but I stopped investing in consoles after the PS3. I know we're on like number 5 now, but like, can you believe it? A console I bought in like 1999, or I want to say maybe 2000, 2001. I remember my first game was CTR Racing, or no, it was Crash Nitro Kart for PS2. CTR I think is PS1, but yeah, I still play the PS2 for that game specifically. Every maybe like once a year, I'll also whip out like Sly Cooper. But anyways, we may have fucked up this team with George Kittle. We cannot take another tight end. We don't have running back. We have 3 receivers. Puka, Waddle, Chris Godwin, and Josh Allen is our quarterback. So this is a 0 RB build, and I probably should have taken receiver there. But usually the guy I'm taking at 63, top of the 5th round, is Jordan Addison. I trust him more than like Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins. Sometimes I take Rome, but I prefer to take McConkey. Later, I have a ton of McConkey. And Addison just got arrested for a DUI. So Addison, we expect to get suspended. Addison is no longer a safe pick at the top of the 5th. And I forgot I took Kincaid in the 4th. So we're going to try and get this team right, but at least we have like elite tight ends, and it could be worse. It could be worse. Maybe Addison falls to us at 82. I would take him at 82. But Keon Coleman gets taken, so we don't have another snipe lined up, another stack lined up. Jesus. I don't know if that thing was a wasp or a yellow jacket. It was like, I'm going to Google it in like another tab and try to pinpoint what it is. Addison goes. We do not get Addison. We're definitely not taking Evan Ingram, so I gotta line up these running backs. But I'm gonna go gambling on Jonathan Brooks. Fuck it. We're in bad shape at running back, and we're hoping for some league-winning potential. Let's go Jonathan Brooks. If I pair him up with Chuba Hubbard, we're definitely in line for like some decent volume. But if he comes back healthier than sooner than we expect, then Brooks does have league-winning upside. That would be phenomenal. But damn, the right pick there would have been Evan Ingram. We just can't do it because we have Kincaid and Kittle. Taking 3 tight ends would be a massive, massive mistake. Shit. Even Cortland Sutton goes, this is a weird draft. Okay. Because we're getting a lot of late season production from Jonathan Brooks, I'm going to go with a lot of early season production and go with James Conner, lined up to be the running back 1 in Arizona, at least to start the season. And if he stays healthy for at least until the bye, he should maintain that job. He could go down with injury at any time, but last year he was really productive, averaged 15 plus points per game when he was on the field, and when Kyler Murray was his quarterback, he averaged over 16 points per game. I think James Conner in round 8 is a very good pick. And the two of them, Brooks and Conner, go in round 8, so it's a little less likely that people have this combo. It's not impossible. It definitely has happened before, but we are on slightly more of the unique end of the spectrum when it comes to this duo on our roster. So far, we are in a bit of a hole at receiver. We have Puka, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin. Not terrible. Can definitely make up for it in future rounds. But at QB, we have Josh Allen. We are absolutely just a 2-quarterback, 2-tight end build. We have 2 tight ends in Kincaid and George Kittle. And we are done at that position. We're going to look for a value at QB, probably wait as long as possible to take one. But we are definitely focused on receiver and running back for quite some time. Chris Godwin is our wide receiver 3. Anyways, let me Google the wasp in question. It was not a yellow jacket because this thing, I'm looking it up now. This thing is like too big. It was like a skinny yellow jacket. This is a little bit more. Yeah, this looks more close to it. It had this like skinny abdomen, whatever the fuck this is called, and then kind of a wider tail. This is the thing that was flying around my room at the top of the video. Yellow jacket paper wasp. Anyways, We are back on the clock. Um, I think the best player available here is definitely Brian Robinson. We are getting buried at receiver. Not good. But I will do it anyways. Now that I have these 3 running backs, I think I can maybe move off the position. I think in the next turn, we can probably double tap receiver and feel okay about it. But this next pick has to be a receiver. And I like Cooks here. I like Dontavian Wicks, but Wicks has a lot of target competition in Green Bay. And Cooks gets fucking taken. Holy shit, man. This is not good. Not a good team. I mean, there's a scenario where it works out, but in no way is this one of my favorite teams. Okay, I'm going to go Dontavian Wicks. I really don't like Jacoby Myers this season. A.D. Mitchell, I still think is overvalued. Mike Williams, big injury risk. Jerry Jeudy, I've literally taken none of. And if you watch the tape, film grinders are raving that Wicks is actually the most talented Packers receiver of the bunch. And definitely if Christian Watson goes down, I think he is the most likely candidate to replace him in terms of his specific role. I think Jaden Reed is the clear like slot receiver. Daubs always lines up out wide, but kind of feels like more of a floor play. Wicks and Watson, I think, is where the highest upside at that position lie in Green Bay. There's definitely some risk with both of them. Wicks profiles as the number 4 receiver. We're really needing to hope that he gets elevated up this depth chart for it to work out. But we just got buried at receiver. Either the Kincaid or the Kittle selection were misguided. One of those was definitely the wrong pick. I think Kittle was probably the worst pick. I just forgot I had Kincaid with a lot of other things on my mind. But sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. This is probably one of my worst teams so far. But Jonathan Brooks, James Conner, Brian Robinson are our running backs. We're going to be set up for a Chuba Hubbard selection in like round probably 14, around pick 159 or so. That's probably where I'm going to take him. Just monopolize the Panthers running back room. And I think wide receiver is the way to go at this next turn, given I am so behind on the position. When Wicks is your receiver 4, it's not great. But we are living at QB. We do have Josh Allen. And there's some upside potential at running back. It's not the end of the world. I might be overblowing the limitations of this roster. It's just receiver that scares me. The teams after me at the turn are a little thin at running back, but I don't think I can really pay attention to them at all. There's somewhat decent value on Jerry Jeudy, but I just never take him. I am not a believer. I am not going to do it this time around. I'm going to take Jalen Polk. I think Polk is more valuable than Jerry Jeudy. I know there's a lot of concerns in the Patriots offense, but Polk has had some rave reviews in camp. Definitely profiles as their wide receiver 1. I'm a big believer in his talent. And we're only taking him like 3 picks above ADP. We're only getting Jeudy like 5 picks after ADP. So it's not that big of a deal. And if Jeudy falls to me at 135, I'll definitely take him. But I'm not going to be upset if I don't get him. I think Leggett is interesting, but a lot of projection for that Panthers offense to work out. We get Jeudy 11 picks past ADP. Now I'm more comfortable with it. Literally my first ever investment in Jeudy this offseason. I have not taken Jeudy a single time before right now. And even around past ADP, I don't feel great about it. I'm not stoked. We're just forced to do it because of our situation. Am I going to pair Benson with James Conner? Sometimes. I think if I wasn't so screwed at receiver, I would have definitely considered it at pick 111, but I don't think it's necessary. I think in best ball, I'd rather just have one of them. Like knowing that I'm trying to handcuff Jonathan Brooks and monopolize the Panthers backfield, I don't think I want to do the same with Arizona. I don't think I want to be in the same situation with both teams. So for this build, I wasn't considering it, but I do think you can talk yourself into it. I don't think it's a terrible decision, especially if like you get Conner, like let's say 93 and Benson falls to you here at like 118. I think that's a really good value on Benson. Whereas Conner 87, we reach on him a little bit. So in order to justify that, I'm kind of like projecting Conner to be more viable all season long, and therefore Benson has like a little less value. But I think just like Jonathan Brooks, Benson is also like that league-winning guy at the end of the season, and for the sake of this build, I don't want to have like two of my most important running backs on the team be guys that I'm like only counting on in November, December. I still need to make the playoffs for me to be in that situation where it actually pays off. And just for the sake of this build, I did not think it was the right approach. But you think you're way too high on Benson. I have high hopes. I have high hopes as well. I'm actually really highly exposed to Trey Benson. He's one of my most drafted players. I think I have him at like 14%, 15%. I've taken a ton of Trey Benson, but I rarely take them together. I don't think you can rule it out. I think it is a viable strategy because when Conner's elite, you're getting really good numbers. When he's injured, you're getting really good numbers from Benson. But I do think there's a world where Conner comes back from injury and then both of them are kind of like eating into each other. And now you just have two running backs on your team that are like both kind of desperate to hit 10 points on a weekly basis. And there is a scenario where that doesn't work out. And that's why I think I'd rather just take one or the other on most builds, not stack both of them together. But it's not a terrible decision. You can definitely do it. I just didn't want to do it today. I could justify reaching on Chuba Hubbard, but I'm going to gamble he comes back to me. And I'm going to take someone I'm hopeful is really involved in this offense. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney. I think there's more upside potentially with Pearsall and Burton, but we are kind of projecting some unknowns in terms of these rookies' outlook this season. And with Mooney's contract, I do think he's poised for a pretty productive, solid year in terms of targets in the Atlanta offense. There is a scenario where he's more valuable than Kyle Pitts. I doubt that. He's going way later for definitely a legitimate reason. But here in round 13, wide receiver 70 off the board, I do think you're drafting Mooney at his floor, whereas the floor could be actually a lot lower for guys like Pearsall and Burton, although I do think their upside is higher. I do think there's a stronger case to be made that Burton and Pearsall finished the season with more fantasy points than Mooney, but I think the percentage chances of that actually happening are slimmer than you getting like a top 50 year from Darnell Mooney, and based on the receivers I have, that is what I want for the sake of this team. I really wish this guy snipes me on Burton because I'm really tempted to take him as like my 8th receiver, knowing how late we took Oh shit. Receiver is just so ugly the rest of the way. I'm actually going to do it. Really good value here on Burton. 8 picks past ADP. And I waited so long for my 4th. Now with 8, including Burton, I actually starting to feel like pretty good about this overall receiving room. It's not like the most top heavy I could find, but it is what it is. I ruined your Chase stack. Oh, are you in this draft, Dev? I didn't even notice. You're at pick 4. You got to announce yourself, man. I would have probably left him for you, but you have Jamar Chase. You do not have Joe Burrow. That's not a true stack. You can live without it, pal. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. But wow, tight end is really coming off the board like crazy at the moment. I feel good that I don't have to reach on Jonnu Smith at 165. There's some potential for Jonnu, but at that price, I'm not in at that price. You can't type your work. It's all right, man. No problem. You're typing now, though. It's okay. Sorry. I'm just focused on my own little world here. Still paranoid about the fucking wasp. This thing is not a welcome sight in your bedroom. Not at all. But we're definitely in a position where we need running back moving forward. We'll be looking at QB. And the values are already drying up at QB, honestly. Quarterback is not that exciting here. I also don't have really good stacking options. I'm looking at maybe Drake May. Baker's off the board. We don't really have any stacking options other than, I mean, Bryce Young with Jonathan Brooks maybe, but like shit, that's not exciting. I might get Chuba Hubbard though. Damn it! Of course I don't get Chuba Hubbard. Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna go. I think Ray Davis. I think Ray Davis is more appealing to me than Antonio Gibson. Actually, nah, I have a lot less Gibson. I'm gonna go for the exposure. Give myself some Gibson, and now that opens us up for a Drake May stack. Gibson is the pass-catching running back in the Patriots offense. You might not see a ton of snaps, honestly. I definitely prefer most Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know why I said Mostert. By like a mile. But we're in rough shape at QB, and we have Jalen Polk. Maybe there's a world where Ramondre goes down with injury and Gibson sees a lot of volume. At the very least, he'll probably catch some passes. And we have like no real stacking options. So that's what we're looking at, a Drake May investment. But we have 3 rounds left. I'm done at tight end. I need a QB. Definitely need quarterback. I kind of want to go with receiver, but we already have 8. And I actually feel somewhat decent about our depth. I think I'm going to ignore receiver, and I think I'm just going to go with quarterback here. And take Drake May. There aren't that many good bets here. But wow, this is a very ugly roster. And this is literally the first time since the draft that I've taken both Jerry Jeudy and Drake May. I have not drafted either of them a single time. On Underdog, I take them both in this same build On the live stream, I don't love it. But we have our Patriots stack, one of the few available. And we look really fucking gross at running back. Running back is terrible. I need Brian Robinson to hit. I need James Conner to hit. I need Brooks back by early October. I need him fully healthy early as possible. And we need Antonio Gibson to have a path for success with Ramondre injured. That's what this team needs. But at receiver, we have Puka, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin. Some potential. Definitely some potential. It's decent from a depth perspective, though. Dontavian Wicks, Jalen Polk, Jerry Jeudy, Darnell Mooney, Jermaine Burton. We got Jeudy, we got Mooney, we got Burton at a good value. So it's okay. I think I've pieced it together, but tight end is definitely great. We have Kincaid and George Kittle. High upside with this pairing. I think there's going to be some weeks when you have these two where Kittle and Kincaid make your lineup. Like, Kincaid is an excellent floor play. If he scores a bunch of touchdowns, he does have potential to finish as a top 3 tight end, potentially the tight end 1. But Kittle is a very like boom bust player. There are some games where he kind of disappears. He doesn't have a ton of volume. But there's also some games where he can put up like a 60-yard touchdown, go over like 120 yards receiving on only like 3 receptions. And when that happens, we'll probably have both of them in our lineup most of the time. So Kittle is going to compensate for some of this lack of depth at flex, but it is ugly at running back with Brooks, Conner, Robinson, and Gibson. It's not atrocious, but Gibson is my RB4. I hate it. We were 1 pick away from Chuba Hubbard. That would have been so fantastic if that worked out. It did not. But running back is definitely what we're focusing on here. I'm going to be taking 2. And he falls 15 picks. We're kind of going for broke when you draft Khalil Herbert. So I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go for broke in the Denver offense. Maybe Estime steals a lot of work from Javonte Williams. Maybe Javonte goes down and Estime is the goal line back. He is a very big option. Definitely profiles as getting some touches on the goal line next season. And there are some reports he's actually going to be more involved than Jaleel McLaughlin. I do think Estime is a name to consider at the end of your draft here in rounds 17 and 18. But more likely than not, he's not a good option for us. It's just like really touchdown dependent. And I'm not like super excited, but he's fine. I have taken him a decent amount, and we take him here. But with 8 receivers, I think I'm going to pass on wide receiver. I think when you are looking at like Patriot stacks, I think Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne are actually kind of interesting. So I just highlighted them for the sake of letting you know. But I need running back here, and I have been all aboard the Dylan Laube train. I'm going to go with Dylan Laube. High volume pass catcher last 2 seasons for New Hampshire in college. And as much as people love Zamir White, I've been a believer in Zamir White. I do not believe in his pass catching ability. I do think Dylan Laube will overtake Madison and will have the receiving role pretty much locked up all to himself. In Vegas, maybe White goes down. Maybe Laube has more of a 3-down role later on in the season. I doubt it. I would imagine Madison is a big part of that committee there if Zamir goes down. But I do think Laube has a weekly role all season long, and I have taken him a lot lately in round 18 as of late. So that's my team. We have Puka, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Dontavian Wicks, Jalen Polk, Jerry Jeudy, Darnell Mooney, and Jermaine Burton. Actually, some decent low-end depth. At QB, we have Josh Allen, Drake May, tight end Dalton Kincaid, George Kittle, and then running back, we have Jonathan Brooks, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, Audric Estime, Dylan Laube. So that's their team. And how long have we been live streaming? I feel like it hasn't been that long. It's been 42 minutes, and I'm going to say fuck it. I'm going to look for some redemption. I'm going to draft a second team here on the live stream. We're going to go for broke and take another one in the Fast Puppy. If you want to join me, you can hit the button right now. I am on a delay, so I'm going to hop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get in for draft number 2. There are 10 spots available in this Fast Puppy. It's hard to make good teams taking without taking early quarterback. I can't tell if you mean by taking early quarterback or without taking early quarterback, because you said taking twice. But yeah, I think going with 2 tight ends early was what really screwed me over. I think that was the ultimate like big issue on that roster. But yeah, round 3, Josh Allen, definitely not the best value you can get on him without taking early quarterback. Okay, so you preferred going with an elite QB. That's what you're saying. I definitely think it's an advantage, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I do think there are some really good values at the position, especially for like stacking purposes. I love Brock Purdy. I love Jared Goff going late. And it looks like we have another late round pick. We are pick 11. But yeah, that was absolutely the worst pick of that draft, the George Kittle selection in round 6. So we're not going to be doing that this time around. We're definitely not taking 2 tight ends through the first 6. And I definitely need to focus on receiver early on. But based on where he's going, I'll probably go with another Chris Godwin build, possibly. I'm actually like really talking myself into Chris Godwin at the end of round 5. When you have to decide between receivers like Jaden Reed, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, it's not that appealing personally. And knowing that Godwin saw 130 targets last year definitely has me more encouraged. From a floor standpoint, I think he's actually a really good bet in redraft. Best ball, we need those touchdowns to hit. We'll see what happens. But we're pick 11. So far, everything has been up to par in ADP, but Bijan Robinson does go pick 6 above St. Brown, followed by Breece Hall. And now we'll see some receivers off the board. Would love A.J. Brown to fall to me, but I highly doubt that happens. There he goes. I have a lot of Garrett Wilson teams recently, but I haven't taken Marvin Harrison in a while. I think I'm just going to go with Marvin. Not the safest pick. He is a rookie, and Garrett Wilson is a little more appealing, but I think you can justify it. It's not insane. I'm mainly doing it for the sake of exposure. I would expect Team 12 to draft Marv instead. But they go Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and we're basically in line. Am I going to do that? Actually, nah, I'm going to go for a unique approach as well. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel. Maybe Ayuk gets traded. Maybe Ayuk gets hurt. Maybe CMC gets hurt. But what I expect to be the final year in San Francisco for Deebo, I think he will be traded at the end of the season, next season. I think they possibly run him into the ground, send him a ton of volume. And there is a world where he's actually more valuable than Ayuk. There was also a stretch last year where Deebo was fucking insane. Like, I have to remind you of these numbers for Deebo because they were like truly elite from weeks 12 through 15. These 4 games for Deebo were insane. 7.3 targets per game, 5.5 receptions per game for 98 yards. He also added 12 per game on the ground, so a total 110 yards, plus 8 total touchdowns, 5 receiving, 3 rushing. That is 2 touchdowns per game during this sample size, this 1 month of the year. Deebo Samuel averaged 25.8 fantasy points per game. I know that off of the top of my head because I was just doing stats for it for the next wide receiver rankings video. So for the sake of best ball here in round 2, Deebo can really go anywhere, and we're just trying to be unique and kind of similar to that Jalen Waddle selection earlier in the last draft. We're taking Deebo because he usually goes at the other side of the board, and not only does he rarely go on this end of the board, he rarely gets taken with Marvin Harrison, who's also a round 2 selection. So I'm really just trying to get a unique build here at pick 11 to start off this draft. Maybe Harrison is the guy you want. Maybe Deebo is the league winner in San Francisco. We are hoping for the best. But now we have 2 receivers, and we at least have like good options at the top. Both of them are like top 15 options for me this season. But we're 6 picks away. If there's a running back that falls to us, I will take him, but I really doubt that'll happen. You never know. We'll see what happens. So Team 10 is probably pretty happy about their Puka Jahmyr Gibbs combo. Team 9 with A.J. Brown, Drake London, not the most common situation, but I have seen it plenty of times. Team 8 has Breece Hall, Chris Olave. Team 7, St. Brown, Saquon Diggs. And there is a chance we do get a running back here because Kyren Williams is still on the board, and Team 10 has Jahmyr Gibbs. If they don't go Derrick Henry, we will likely get a good running back on this team. But Team 6, Bijan, Nico Collins, Zay Flowers. Team 5, Jefferson, Taylor, DJ Moore. Team 4 with Chase, Ayuk, Devontae. Team 3, Tyreek, Neighbors, Cooper Kupp. Team 2, CD, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf. And Team 1 with CMC, Devontae Adams, Devon Achane. I think I prefer probably Team 2 most of all so far. But we do get Derrick Henry. Good, decent value here at pick 35. And last draft, we started with 2 wide receivers, and our first running back was Jonathan Brooks. We did kind of get behind the 8 ball at that position. So we are in good shape this time around, and I think I learned from my mistake. I will not force it. I'll probably go receiver here at pick 4 and just hope for some good values at quarterback later on. But it's tempting to go with Kelsey. It's tempting to go with Allen, but we just took him. Meanwhile, I'm going to go with T. Higgins. Don't draft him like an insane amount, but this way we are in line for a potential stack with maybe a Kyler Murray at a big value. If Kyler falls to pick 83, I'll probably go Kyler Murray. But if not, we can also go Joe Burrow. And if we miss on both of them, we can also take Brock Purdy at the 107-110 turn. We are in good shape for stacking appeal with this start. So Marvin Harrison, Deebo Samuel, Derrick Henry, T. Higgins is the first 4 picks, are the first 4 picks for this team. I feel okay about it. At the end of the first round, going unique is one of the strategies to use. And I have plenty of Garrett Wilson teams. I'm going to go shake things up a bit with this start. But if you are new to the channel, if you're enjoying this live stream, hit that subscribe button for me. Hit the like button as well. And there will be new content posted tomorrow. My top 20 wide receiver rankings are right around the corner. Ring the bell if you don't want to miss out on new posts anytime I go live. You will get those updates directly to your phone. Assuming you've downloaded YouTube and that app. But most people do. I don't know that many people that don't have YouTube on their phone. Pacheco goes a little early in this draft, pick 37. I've done that before in the past when you are at the 12-13 turn. I think it is justified. You have to wait so long for your next pick if you want Pacheco. you can take him. I actually have Pacheco ranked above Derrick Henry and Devon Achane straight up. So I'm a Pacheco believer this year. I have taken him that high in the past myself. But we're not really in line for a tight end. Even Kyle Pitts goes pick 51. So if we wanted an elite-ish tight end, we'd have to go with George Kittle. We just took him last draft, so I probably won't be doing that again. But like I mentioned, I do really like Chris Godwin in this range, and he's definitely a player I will be targeting. At this point, I think he's very safe. Wide receiver 36 feels like such a safe floor for Godwin. I don't think there's any risk when you draft Chris Godwin. There's nothing but upside. I've really talked myself into Godwin. And he goes pick 54. Talked myself into it in the last week or two. This team is probably going to stack up Kelsey with Mahomes, so would be shocked for him to fall. Yeah, there he goes. Jaden Reed gets taken. And we probably miss out on the ADP value of Josh Jacobs. Most likely here. Oh no, they go Richardson. Team 1 has Pacheco. And Jacobs has fallen 7 spots. He's been really moving down the board. We're going to grab a unique start here with Jacobs. There are not many teams at pick 11 that get Josh Jacobs. I could go running back, but I know this is not the position of value at this point. Maybe I go George Kittle, but I don't really want to. I think I'm just going to go with Rome Odunze. Could maybe have talked myself into Rashee Rice, but it's fine. I do think Odunze is one of the better picks here at the top of round 6. He is my favorite Bears receiver, and I would rather draft him than Keenan Allen going 7 picks earlier, at least in this draft. And there is a scenario where Odunze is actually more valuable than DJ Moore even, who's going in round 3. I do have Odunze ranked as wide receiver 2, but if you told me Caleb Williams just has such a good rapport with the elite receiver Odunze, I wouldn't be completely shocked. And now we have 2 rookies on this team, 2 of the best talents at the position coming into the year. There's definitely some high upside with these investments, but kind of a crowded offense in Chicago. There are some red flags. There are some reasons not to draft him, but I think in the 6th round, he's very fairly priced, and I do think he's going to have a better season than Keenan Allen. So we don't get Godwin. We're taking Odunze at 62. But we're lining ourselves up for a Kyler Murray draft pick at the next round. I'd be very happy with that. We're probably going to get boxed out of receiver, but we could consider Cortland Sutton, even Curtis Samuel, because we have good running backs. And unless we get like an insane value on Evan Ingram, unless Ingram falls to us at 83, then I don't expect to be going with the tight end in the next 2 rounds. But after our Odunze selection, we see Rashee Rice, George Kittle, Christian Watson. Watson has been moving up the board quite a bit lately. I've seen him go top 65, actually a lot lately. So he's a mover. Then we see Rachaad White, Deontay Johnson, Ladd McConkey. I think Ladd McConkey's also a super safe pick in the 6th round. Like, there's so many targets available in the Chargers offense. He's definitely going to smash. McConkey's one of my most drafted receivers. I have him at like 19%, actually. I take him a lot. But then Xavier Worthy, Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Hopkins, Brian Thomas, JSN, Montgomery. The team at 3, pick 3, goes Kyler Murray. They have him stacked up with Trey McBride. So we don't get our Kyler stack. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. But Ramondre, Evan Ingram, Keon Coleman. Jordan Addison goes 79. He fell a full round in a matter of a day. But whoa, Stroud is still on the board. If he falls to me at 83, I'll just take him. But I imagine he goes off the board here. This team has no Texans receivers, though. We'll see what they do. Kamara. This team has Anthony Richardson, and they pass on Stroud. I don't have any Texans, but it's such a value. I don't really want to do it, but how many picks past ADP is this? 83, 67. 16 picks past ADP. Let's do it. Let's take CJ Stroud. This is the latest I've ever seen Stroud go. And although we don't have him stacked up, it's fine. I kind of want to grab a second QB and just call it done. This lines up for our stack. We do have T. Higgins. And while it's tempting to go Aaron Jones, I'm just going to go with Joe Burrow. We already have 2 good running backs. We have 4 decent receivers. I don't want to reach on Curtis Samuel. And now I just have elite quarterbacks. Definitely top 5 potential for both of them. Let's make this a unique team. Let's go with CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow. Let's see what happens. So at this point, we got Marvin Harrison, Deebo Samuel, T. Higgins, Rome Odunze at receiver, running back Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and at wide receiver we have CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow. We are done at the quarterback position. At this point, that's definitely the case. You usually want Stroud stacked up, but it's such a good value. Hard to pass up on it. And I was targeting Burrow. Talked myself into it. But round 8 is definitely the round for running backs most of the time. We see Ferguson go, James Conner, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Jalen Warren, Brock Bowers, Zach Moss. Curtis Samuel goes here. Pick 95. And that team has a lot of Bills. I think the best Bills that you could ask for. They have Kincaid. They have Curtis Samuel. Boy, Josh Palmer, pick 96. Palmer has gotten pricey. I remember the days when I was drafting Palmer at like pick 145. I was taking him an insane amount before the draft at like 171 when they still had Mike Williams, Keenan Allen on the board. Boy, have times changed. Palmer 96 is way, way more pricey. A little too expensive at this point. I think it's hard to feel great about it when you're passing on guys like Prescott, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels. I'm not big on Tony Pollard this season, but I definitely rather have those quarterbacks than Palmer. But we're looking at wide receiver with our next pick. I think that's probably kind of important. We could also get a tight end. We're kind of behind on that position. So Njoku's a name I like here. I could consider a Romeo Doubs, Brandon Cooks, Dontavian Wicks selection as well. Goddard also part of the equation. And then I think we'll just see if there's a running back that comes back around to us after Team 12 goes. Team 12 already has 4 running backs. I don't think they're going to take one with their pick 108, 109 selection. So I'm going to wait and see who's still on the board at 110. But I honestly don't need to take one given who I have in Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs already. But I'm going to go Romeo Dobbs. And then I think I'm also going to go with Dontavian Wicks. Just heavily commit to the Packers offense. Should I? Maybe not. Yeah, they go double receiver. I could take Pollard, but I literally have not taken Pollard once. Maybe this is the day. Screw it. Kind of like last draft. Let's take a player I literally have never drafted at all up to this point and say fuck it with Tony Pollard. If I am drafting the Titans running back, I'm usually looking for Tyjae Spears, but there's a new coaching staff that did not draft Tyjae Spears, and Pollard is a good pass catcher as well. Everybody raves about Tyjae Spears' pass catching ability, but last year Pollard caught even more receptions than Tyjae. Pollard caught 55, Tyjae caught 52. And just because I never take him and I get him 10 picks past ADP, I'm willing to say fuck it. I'm willing to mix it up a little bit, go with Tony Pollard as our RB3. I don't feel great about it. Personally, I have Brian Robinson ranked higher, but if Tyjae Spears were to get hurt, then Tony Pollard would have definitely a bigger role on his hands. And maybe he does have a bounce back season. He was injured last year coming off a broken leg. Maybe he bounces back. At the very least, there's a big contract invested in him. He's getting $8 million per season. And the new coaching staff probably likes him more than I do. So I should diversify a little bit more. I go Tony Pollard, pick 110, 10 picks past ADP. But this is our team so far. We are stacked at QB. We have CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow. We are done at that position. Running back, we have Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard. Wide receiver, Marvin Harrison, Deebo Samuel, T. Higgins. Odunze, Romeo Doubs. And we do not have a tight end yet. This is definitely one of my more unique rosters, for sure. But I think for the sake of stacking, I might be looking at a Dalton Schultz pick here to pair up with Stroud. I'm not in love with Schultz this year, but it's possible he scores a lot of touchdowns like he did last season. He scored 5, but he didn't play a full season. He had a lot of targets, 88 for the second year in a row. And they do pay him a decent amount, 12 mil per season. And without Stroud, it's probably unjustified. I prefer Freiermuth, but given the stacking option, I'm probably just going to take him. I feel good enough at running back where I don't think I'm going to force it with a guy like Jerome Ford, although I do like Ford a lot. Freiermuth goes, so we can't double tap tight end. We're kind of forced into taking Schultz, I think. If I didn't go Burrow there, I would have grabbed either Jake Ferguson or a running back. But don't know if it's that big of a deal. I don't regret grabbing Joe Burrow there. Yeah, I'm just going to take Dalton Schultz. Hope for the best. Maybe one of those receivers that they added, like maybe Diggs is really bad. Maybe Dell doesn't perform. Maybe he goes down with injury. Maybe something happens in our favor. But receiver is pretty brutal at this point. And I do think there's a little more breakout potential for Dotson over Gabe Davis. But I've kind of just been going against the grain with these last 2 drafts. And Gabe Davis is someone I'm like really not invested in like at all this year. But for best ball, he does have that like 20-point upside that you're hoping for. Let's go Gabe Davis. Fuck it. I'm going to go with Dave Davis. But Fantasy Dog, good to see you again, my friend. Back on Keel. And you are like number 4. I appreciate you, pal. Good to see you in the chat once again. But this is a 3 tight end build for sure. I definitely need 2 more when Schultz is my number 1. I don't feel great about that. We have 3 running backs, but I think I'm going to stop at 5. And that means we are going for 8 receivers if we do have to take 3 tight ends. So it's running back, wide receiver, tight end the rest of the way. We are done at QB on this roster. But after Gabe Davis, we see Jerome Ford, Luke Musgrave. Wow, early on Luke Musgrave. Darnell Mooney, Austin Eckler, Ty Chandler, Zach Charbonnet, and now Jahan Dotson. Rico Dowdle, 142. And let's take a look at some of these other rosters. Or is there anybody that I'm like really envious of so far in this draft? Team 1 has a mega Trevor Lawrence stack with Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas. Team 2 really good receivers, but that's the main note of there. Team 3, who sniped us on Kyler Murray. Decent running back room with Walker as the number 1, but wow. Receiver is paper thin. That's the problem when you go Kyle Pitts as your tight end 2 and heavily invest in running back in the middle rounds. I'm not a big fan of Team 3. Team 3 goes Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, Cooper Kupp, Trey McBride, Kyle Pitts. Massive reach on Pitts. Kenneth Walker, Kyler Murray, Zach Moss, Tyler Lockett, Gus, Corum, Rico Dowdle. Their wide receiver 5 is now Demario Douglas. They're in kind of rough shape. Needs a major breakout from Malik Neighbors. I am not a believer in Neighbors, honestly. With Daniel Jones at QB. Can you guys hear my cat meowing in the background? She's like meowing it up back there. But I will consider Kmet here if he falls. 11 picks. That's not bad. We have Odunze. So we're kind of just committing a little bit more to this Bears investment. But yeah, it's a pretty good value. This team has Sam Laporta, but I definitely think they're in the market for a tight end, especially at this ADP discount. So I'm going to go... Actually, no. We have Joe Burrow. We have T. Higgins. I think it's wiser to invest in Burton. I'm going to gamble that Kmet falls back around. I know this team needs receiver. They were desperate to draft Mike Williams, Jerry Jeudy, and Xavier Legette, and they do not take tight end. It works out for me. I still get Kmet at an even bigger ADP discount. So it goes with our stack. I do think I made the right decision there. Grabbing Burton also past ADP, but Kmet even further. And I finessed. Pick 12. Stealing a valuable receiver from him. So good pick. I did indeed. Yeah, I played that correctly. I reached on Burrow a little bit, so it was definitely a more justified selection to now have the double stack of T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton, paired with Joe Burrow. Glad it worked out. But I still need 2 more running backs, so I might focus on that pick at the next turn. We need 2 running backs, we need 1 wide receiver, we need 1 tight end. With our next 4 picks, it's all about value. All about value. If somehow Chuba falls to us like he almost did last draft, I would definitely go Chuba. Think he's very safe, good value this late. I mean, everyone you're drafting at this point is a handcuff. You at least know Chuba Hubbard's going to be on the field and give you some production, albeit it is early in the season. On Underdog, you kind of want to favor end of year production, but points are points, and you need to make the playoffs in order for those last few weeks to even be relevant. I think Chuba Hubbard helps you make the fantasy playoffs. That is why I like to draft Chuba Hubbard. He helps get you there. And early on, especially if you draft like Trey Benson or someone that's not going to be super prolific early on, like if let's say you wind up with Nick Chubb as like your running back 3, hypothetically, like if Chubb is actually a big part of your offense, I think Chuba Hubbard is a perfect player to pair up with him because you know Nick Chubb is not going to contribute in the first month or 2 of the season. Hubbard is going to cover for him when that happens. But Hubbard goes pick 170, good pick by whoever made it. Nave12 made a good pick. But we could definitely go tight end here. I think Elijah Mitchell's a guy I would like. Fantasy Dog says the last few days the top quarterbacks are falling like crazy. Got Allen at 42 and at 46. Can't pass on him there. No, I think past pick 40, you have to take him. I think it's a mistake to let him fall past pick 40. He's just so good, so consistent, so much rushing value. He's been the QB1 the last 2 seasons. And every single week, he always puts up like top 10 numbers. Like even when he has like a down game, he's still someone that is in your lineup almost all of the time. But when you do take Josh Allen, it does benefit you to really punt the position. Like that's the luxury of taking him. You don't have to reach on quarterback again at any point in the draft. And the only problem with taking him is that stacking options do kind of dry up, rarely align with taking him. But if all of a sudden you're getting Josh Allen pick 46, then you can easily pair him up with Dalton Kincaid and he becomes a great stacking player like always. But I am going to go with tight end here because I know Team 12 has good depth at running back, and I'm going to hope and pray that they pass on Elijah Mitchell and leave him to me. That's who I want here. I would prefer Elijah Mitchell and his upside rather than Bucky Irving, J.K. Dobbins. There's probably equally, if not maybe even more volume guaranteed for Bucky Irving and Dobbins, but their floor is super low, and I don't think they're like that valuable. Team 12 does take tight end, so this was the right decision. And they go with Bucky Irving instead of Mitchell. I get the player I wanted. I have correctly predicted Team 12's motives for 2 straight turns here. I am in good shape. So last 2 picks, I need another wide receiver. I need another running back, and that is definitely the way to go. Easy to stack when it's that late. Yeah, for sure. Josh Allen at 46. Yeah, Kincaid goes 52. You are so likely to get Kincaid back around. Even if you don't, you're probably still going to get a great tight end in Mark Andrews if you want to take him. And then also what's beautiful about that side of the board is that is also where like Curtis Samuel goes. Curtis Samuel, like pick 95, at least in this draft, that's around his ADP. You can definitely pair up the best 2 fantasy options for Josh Allen if you get him that late. Keon Coleman also you can get at pick 75 if you really want to. You can go with the Bills triple stack. That's actually kind of tempting. Congrats on getting Allen that late. That's a great value, man. Latest I've taken him is probably like pick 40, 42. and that's maybe only happened to me like once. So it's exciting to know that he's been falling a lot more lately. Here he goes pick 43. That's a really enticing ADP. We took him 30, 35, or maybe even 34 in the last draft. We took him at the late third round. But with running backs and wide receivers, definitely the way we're going about these last two picks. Let's queue up some names. I do think you can filter in Bigsby every now and then. I've obviously hyped up Dylan Laube a lot. I took Estime and Laube in the last draft, so we're going to pivot to other positions. I do like CEH a lot. I think CEH is actually really valuable. Dameon Pierce, given Joe Mixon is 28, maybe has some value, but isn't really the most enticing option. I think Deontay Foreman has some looks at the beginning of the year, but not late once Nick Chubb comes back. And after that, I'm not that excited. That's one of the reasons why I go with Dylan Laube so often. But at receiver, I love me some Tyler Boyd this late. I think Greg Dortch is also a player you can talk yourself into. I do have Marvin Harrison, so it's possibly a way to go. Greg Dortch gets taken, though. Team 12 only has 6 receivers. I think they will probably double up on that position, so I'm probably going to look for Tyler Boyd more so as a priority than CEH, given that circumstance. But I've also sometimes paired up Yoshivas with Joe Burrow in the past. I think he is an interesting, unique approach at receiver, but probably not like the best investment. And because he's there, I'm just going to go with Tyler Boyd, someone I know is getting targets next season. I definitely know he's going to get targets. We also already are a little invested in Tennessee. It's not bad, but CEH is still on the board here. I'm going to go with CEH, and that is it for this draft. A reminder of how it went. We took Marvin Harrison, Deebo Samuel at the 1-2 turn. Then we took Derrick Henry, T. Higgins at the 3-4. We grabbed Josh Jacobs at a good value, pick 59, followed by Rome Odunze, pick 62. We got amazing value on CJ Stroud, pick 83. We followed that up with Joe Burrow to stack with T. Higgins. Then we went Romeo Doubs, Tony Pollard. Pollard at a good value. Then we took Dalton Schultz to stack with CJ Stroud. Then we went Gabe Davis, Jermaine Burton as another stack with Burrow, followed by Cole Kmet, Tyler Conklin, Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Boyd, and our last pick was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So that's going to be it for this draft. If you enjoyed the live stream, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel, as always, for more content. And ring the notification bell for all of my live streams, as well as all of my new content. I will be posting top 20 wide receivers tomorrow. Look out for that. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name's Adam Riancho, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a good week.